Alun's just blacked out.
Play the theme music. To this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan. I'm here with the ever sweet-toothed Adam.
My teeth feel like they've got that sugary film over them that takes me back to when I used to drink those fizzy pop drinks. You know, the alcoholic ones. What were they called? Alco Pops.
Yeah, Alco Pops.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of those when I was in my late teens. At this
handle the real booze.
one specific nightclub, and after about 4 or 5, I think they were buy 2 get 1 free or some sort of crazy deal, and they left this film over my teeth, and that's exactly how I feel now.
Why do you feel like that, do you suppose?
Because I've completely changed my diet.
Yeah.
Whilst in Oman.
It's almost exclusively dates
and camel meat.
Yeah.
And the dates are becoming a bit of a problem because we're using them as a sort of
a food replacement supplement.
Well, we like coffee a lot, and we tend to have a lot of coffee. And now we've got into the habit of having, well, we think it's 2 or 3 dates, but it's probably more like 5 or 6 dates with each coffee.
Yeah, to offset the bitterness of the coffee. We today fasted for maybe about 20 hours.
It was a long time.
Consuming only dates.
Yeah, so I don't know if that counts
a date
as fasting.
Fast. Which incidentally is exactly what I've been doing in more ways than one here in the Islamic First World Nations. It's a date fast all round for me.
Yeah, the dates, they're very easy to consume. They're absolutely delicious. And if you don't like it, guys, take it up with the Omani people because they eat them all the time.
They eat them all the time.
It's one of their biggest exports, isn't it?
Yesterday, because we're coming to the end of our road trip. That's what this episode's going to be all about. It's going to be the end of our Omani trip. You know, we're in our car. We name her lovingly Bushy. She's being given back tomorrow. This will be the last time that we really get to tell you guys about what we've been up to. So, just yesterday, we were at a souk, which is sort of like an indoor market where you can trade goats and well, really you're trading things for money. Goats, dates, all that sort of jazz.
Yeah,
antiques.
Lots of merchants selling things.
We went into a date shop and there was some expensive dates on offer there for us to try and sample.
Yeah, 5 Omani rial, which as we know is actually about £10 per kilo for some of these dates. Definitely the most expensive dates I've ever eaten, not been on, but eaten.
Yeah. Nice.
And they were delicious, but the problem was that we went into the date shop. It was quite upmarket, wasn't it? Very clean, shiny, looked like they were going to be expensive dates. The staff in there were fantastic, and they said to us on walking in, "Help yourselves, you can taste any dates you want."
A risky thing to say to a sweet-toothed man such as Adam, because I noticed your fingers dipping into each and every one of those date pots.
Well, the problem is with something like that, I want to try and understand the date. You know, eat as many dates as I can and different dates. Try and work out why one is more expensive than the other. What is it I like about this date as opposed to that date? And by the end of it, I think we'd probably had 15 or 20 of them after consuming our normal date allowance in the day.
I think I've got quite a low tolerance for sugar in general. Just a little bit of sugar goes a long way to making me feel like hot shit.
You're constantly looking at the back of coconut waters to work out how the carbohydrates.
Yeah, almost constantly I'm doing that. We've scarcely squeezed anything else into our Oman trip, but for me, staring at the back of produce and trying to find out its sugar content. It's been a hell of a road trip, man. I've really, really enjoyed our time with you.
You and Bushy.
Yeah, me and Bushy. We've had a great time with you, Adam. You know, we talked a lot on the last week about all the crazy stuff we've got into, the Wadi Tiwi, the green turtles. I think it's been assumed widely by the listening audience that whilst we've been doing all those things, it's been you driving.
Right.
And I would like to address something on Tripology now, and I would like it to take the form of, I can't stress this enough, there's not been one email suggesting, please can you bring this item back? We really miss it. I really want to hear it. Nothing.
No, not a peep.
Tripology's worst item.
No.
Alun's miscellaneous travel item. I mean, how could you not love the theme music? Do you know what I mean?
I'm glad we brought attention to it, because I went through a stage actually of only listening to episodes with this item, just to get the analytics up. No, so I can hear the theme music, which I'm so fond of. It needs to be extended into a pop song, because I think it would be a #1 hit.
Well, we'll work on it. We'll certainly work on it. In the film 8 Mile, Slim Shady, he rebuts his aggressors by simply getting on stage and rapping about every single allegation that's been thrown their way.
Okay.
There's been allegations thrown at me my whole life, and Tripology included, that I am a terrible driver.
Okay.
The allegations include the time I nearly wrapped the digger around a fence in our farm in BC.
Okay, I was present for that. I witnessed it. I wasn't in the digger, but...
The time I used a motorcycle as a torpedo into a Land Rover in Vietnam.
Right.
The time I crashed the bike in Vietnam and got road rash all over my body.
Right.
The time I crashed my bike in Sri Lanka and kind of... not revealed that on the podcast, but that happened. Also, the time I crashed my car in Canada into the snow pile. The list goes on of incidents where I've maybe proven myself to... There's moments where I struggle behind the wheel. But I'm not out here in this version of Al's miscellaneous travel item for anything other than justice. Because... I'm willing to admit, because of the long list, I'm always going to be Tripology's worst driver.
Right.
All I'm asking for right now is an honest, and I've not asked you this off camera, off mic. I just want an honest review of my driving on this trip.
Yeah.
I think I've probably got 4 hours behind the wheel.
Yes.
You've done most of the driving. There's been moments where I've gone, Adam, take a load off, mate. Eat some dates in the passenger seat for a while. I'll do the driving. So I want an honest review.
Yeah.
I'd like you to use sort of rice for breakfast format. I want like some good points, some bad points, and then maybe categories as well. Like, am I good at steering, for example?
Okay.
Just give me a rating, because I'm here today, basically. I want to be known as the worst driver in Tripology, but okay driver overall.
Very competent driver.
That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, well, you have put me on the spot, because I did have absolutely no idea this was coming.
No.
But I've been studying your driving.
I didn't need to warn you about this, Iron, because I know that you have.
Yeah. So as a passenger who likes driving as well, I should probably at the very top of this say, I do really enjoy driving. I like driving.
Very safe driver you are as well.
Thank you. I like driving long distances.
Yeah.
Your driving, I would say, similar to mine in the sense that it's very cautious.
Okay.
I don't think that we put ourselves in any unnecessary danger. We don't make rash decisions.
No.
I would say that you're overtaking at the correct time when I would overtake.
Right.
But maybe with not as much confidence as I think you should, because you are a good driver.
A little hesitation with the overtaking.
Yeah. Yeah, you give people a very wide berth, I think.
Yes.
And that's because you've told me in confidence that you're worried about what they'll do.
My big fear with driving is other people, not myself.
Well, that's a good place to be.
I'm not in control of their actions.
Yeah, totally. Another critique, stamina, maybe.
Right.
Because we were on a very long road yesterday, and I think you've been driving for a good 4 hours, which is a long stint.
Yeah.
The scenery, in your defense, the scenery wasn't that exciting. Once you've seen, and this goes for a lot of Oman. We have loved Oman.
Yeah.
But it's important to be honest. If you are going to drive 2,500, 3,000 kilometers around the country through the middle of the desert, once you've seen the desert for about 15 minutes,
you've seen all of it.
Yeah. But then 4 hours going through the same scenery, it's like you're on a treadmill. So it gets quite boring.
A visual treadmill.
Yeah, it's just a straight road through the desert, exactly as you're imagining it. And
the camel.
The most exciting thing that might happen is that Alun overtakes someone.
Yeah.
And gets maybe a little bit closer than he did on the last time, which was probably an hour before.
Okay, so you're saying stamina-wise?
Stamina-wise, I think you maybe asked me to drive quicker than I was expecting.
Okay. It's a fair point. Can I take it on board, and I'm not trying to argue with the reviewer.
Sure.
I'll just make a counterpoint.
Yeah.
I have vehicular somnambulism, and I was trying not to fall asleep after 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, well, then I'm very glad that I did take the
Yeah. So you actually got 16 times as long out of me as I would have liked.
What would I say? The good points: great control of the vehicle, great control of the car. Yeah, I think driving around these roads, it's not always easy because, look, with the speed bumps that we have mentioned previously, treacherous out there, and there are some other drivers on the roads in Oman. Don't know if they're Omani.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that, but they are in Oman. And they've not been the best drivers, in my opinion.
Okay, so you think I'm better than an Omani at driving?
Better than a driver in Oman.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We're treading very carefully. I think, would I get in the car with you 1,000 times? Absolutely.
I think it's always, your main criticism of me then driving is that I don't do it for long enough, and also I'm too cautious, which I think is a great thing to be.
Yeah,
I know when to stop, and I'm very safe while I'm doing it.
And maybe you just need to drive more. Because you don't drive that much at all, do you?
No.
So that's where the confidence would come in.
Well, I think it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because all the allegations, the farm incident, crashing the bike.
I don't know if we've got the time to go through the list a second time, Alan.
None of them have involved another human being.
Okay.
I'll say that. It's never harmed anyone else. They've all just been me doing stuff in my own time. I've never, ever, ever had an incident involving anyone else, despite that being my biggest fear.
Well, can we deduce from that maybe you should always have a passenger?
Yeah, because I am very cautious when I have a passenger.
100% of the time you've been driving with a passenger, you've never had an accident.
That is true.
So, I mean, I think you're good, mate. I think you're a great person to be on a road trip with. And I think when you are on a road trip, let me just say that it's so much more than just being able to drive.
It's the personality. It's giving you when you've been driving, doing the DJing.
Yeah, you've got to DJ, you've got to have fantastic taste in music, you've got to want to go to bed at the same time, you've got to be comfortable sleeping in tight environments, you've got to be a bloody good conversationalist for 12 hours.
Well, you know what? I've found your conversation on this trip so damn good. Sometimes I've whipped a little microphone out and it's over on the Patreon section. You can go there. It's Tripology Podcast on Patreon. And yeah, man, we've been doing like behind the scenes little microphonic sessions.
Yeah, they're like extended versions of the Lost and Found section, which come after the episode. So patreon.com/Tripology Podcast to hear all that sort of stuff.
And I would never criticize your driving. But if I did, it would be that often you're holding a microphone at the same time as holding the wheel.
And that makes trying to look at my phone very difficult.
Yeah, doesn't it just? Okay, well, look, that's amazing. Thank you so much for the review. Thank you for allowing me a little Alan's Miscellaneous Travel item.
You're welcome.
I really want to talk about some of the highlights that have happened going forward on the road trip and some crazy stuff that happened today.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It's a wonder that we're here doing this podcast episode, but that'll have to wait after a brief meditation break. Adam, you know I love backpacking, but I hate knowing exactly where I'm going to be all the time.
Well, that's why we've partnered with Journey.
They've found an innovative way to take all the stress out of planning your next adventure.
All you have to do is fill in a brief questionnaire, letting them know your travel preferences.
Hot weather, good food, mountains or beaches.
Give them that information, and in less than 24 hours, you'll receive a trip proposal.
And that's going to give you some hints about where you're going on your potential adventure.
But the final destination remains a complete surprise until you arrive at the airport.
So you get all the spontaneity of a classic Tripology adventure, but your whole itinerary is sorted for you. There's none of the stress.
So go and fill out the Journey questionnaire. We love what they're doing. Support them, support us. There's a link in the description.
Click on the link. Like a vehicle whizzing past another vehicle at an incredibly safe and considered distance, allow your conscious mind to return into your brain as we pursue the second half of the episode, and what a half it will be, because, like we say, our road trip is concluding, and no road trip is complete without a near-death experience. Oftentimes I feel grateful for the tripological audience, but on this episode, I mean, they should be grateful that an episode is being produced, Adam, because frankly, the fact that I'm here able to speak into the mic is a goddamn miracle.
Yeah, I was quite worried for your health and safety earlier, mate. I really was.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to bring the tone down, but we're going to discuss obviously what did happen. But I was worried for a bit.
Yeah, well, I think this is a story best told largely from your perspective.
Okay.
maybe we'll just preface it. We're about to go on a long walk in Jebel Shams.
Yeah.
The Grand Canyon of Oman, they call it.
They call it the balcony walk.
Yeah.
And we decided to do the whole thing, which there and back was about 3 hours. It was in the middle of the day when it was at its absolute hottest, which maybe wasn't the best decision. But none of that had any bearing on what did happen.
I was in high spirits, Adam, and I love to hike with you.
Cool.
And so I thought, this is going to be a wonderful day. I pressed on ahead.
You could never have guessed what was about to happen, could you? Because we were busy walking down to the trailhead, ruining the price of a bottle of water.
Yeah.
And then you were walking a little bit ahead of me.
I put my hand outstretched like a man confidently in stride, and then was met with such searing pain that I knew something was wrong immediately.
Yeah, I've never seen you like that, by the way.
Really? Well, yeah. So I want you to tell the story exactly what happened from your perspective in a second. I looked down at my hand and I saw maybe 4 wasps all over my hand.
Yeah.
One of them making love to my knuckle with his stinger, in and out repetitively. The other 2 sort of slow, rhythmic, sort of more of a Marvin Gaye feel. 1 sting, 2 sting, 3 stings, a searing pain in the back of my arm.
Yeah.
A searing pain in my arse. I'd been stung by let's call it a hive of wasps. I reckon maybe 15 to 20 times.
Yeah, goodness.
Now I want to hear from you. What did it look like? What happened from your perspective? What was my reaction like?
So we were walking down, I mean, just to set the scene, pretty dry, arid landscape. Again, think sort of Grand Canyon, desert, this sort of stuff. And we were walking down this path, bit of gravel on the floor, that kind of thing. So you are looking where you're going because you might slip or put your foot on a loose rock or whatever. You were about, 3 or 4 meters in front of me?
I'd say so.
We took a right where we should have taken a left in hindsight.
Yeah, but didn't know wasps were so upset about directional errors.
And then I heard this sort of scream. Immediately you turned around. I knew that you weren't doing a gag or joking or anything because I'd never seen you like that.
Right.
And I probably saw you react at the same time I saw the wasps. So I wasn't scratching my head thinking, oh God, I wonder what's wrong with Alun.
It was clear.
But you also didn't behave in a way that you would expect. This is maybe twofold. You wouldn't expect a person to behave in the way that you did around a wasp.
Okay.
Because there was no swatting of any nature.
Interesting.
And also, I know that you actually know how to react around wasps, and that's usually stay quite still.
I'm incredibly calm around the wasp community and the bee community normally.
Yeah.
I pride myself in a beer garden going, everyone just relax. No one move, everyone chill, the wasp will go away.
So yeah, it was a bit strange for me. I was trying to process a lot of things very quickly. What I did know was that you were in a lot of pain, more pain than I've ever seen you in because of the way you were sort of, I'm not going to call it screeching, that's probably unfair.
Right.
But you were like, visibly in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And running away from the wasps. And obviously I saw the wasps as well. And I think you used a bit of profanity.
You said that I went, oh my God, the pain, the pain.
Yeah. So yeah, I knew it was the wasps. I saw at least 5 very close to you, and then probably another 5 or 10 in that area, just sort of flying around your head and your back and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that I maybe instinctively didn't swat them because swatting them would have maybe caused them to be more aggressive
than they already were.
Yeah.
Honestly, when someone gets stung by a wasp or a bee, in my head, when I think about what that's like, never is it an attack by more than one wasp.
It was coordinated.
Yeah.
The one up front doing the knuckle in and out, he seemed like very much like an Oxford rowing team. He was sort of calling to the others and setting them in motion.
Well, it's really disproportionate, their reaction.
To my direction error.
Well, I mean, you must have stepped into their territory. Did you step on the queen or something? How does it work?
I hope so. But sadly, no, I think I just inched into their territory. They all attacked. And even after I ran away and sat down on a nearby rock, one got up my bum.
Yeah. You did say that, yeah.
So I was just being being swarmed.
Describe the pain, because I've not been stung by a bee or a wasp for a very long time. There was one down my back in Canada a few years ago, and I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, that really hurt.
Yeah.
But
Well, I've been stung by a bullet ant, which is pound for pound.
got the strongest bite.
Yeah, it's allegedly the most painful insect sting on planet Earth, the bullet ant.
Yeah, wow.
I'll say this now. Being stung by as many wasps as I was
repeatedly,
was far more painful as an initial thing than the bullet ant.
And you have got a high pain threshold, I think.
I feel like a bit of a wimp for maybe screaming and like being the way I was and running away.
Well, I mean, it's involuntary though.
I don't really know what else I could have done in that situation because it feels like you're being attacked by the air.
Yeah. How quickly did you realise? I suppose you looked down and you saw that there was a number of wasps on your skin.
I felt an incredible amount of pain and then immediately looked down and then saw those yellow bastards.
Yeah. And they're horrible pieces of work, aren't they?
But the thing is, there was no foe to like run away from or like fight.
Yeah.
It's just the very air becomes this enemy that can cause searing pain.
Yeah, I think as well what made me worry was that you knew immediately that something was really wrong. Like the way that you were behaving, you came over, you sat down, you were in excruciating pain, your hand started blowing up and it was going really red and you could actually see where the stings were visibly. There were like big red dots.
I think obviously one sting is manageable, but to anyone who's not been stung like 20 times, I mean, even if it was 10 times or 15 times, it's like that becomes crazy. I'm ashamed to say, listeners, and, you know, I'm sorry to you for having to deal with this, but I passed out.
I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because you're smiling. So clearly you're comfortable.
It's funny.
I don't think it's funny. I think it's a normal reaction to intense, extended pain.
I sat down away from the colony. We sort of retreated.
Yeah, and you were dehydrated.
I was dehydrated. Yeah, I mean, thanks for the excuse. But I felt my vision.
You're a good driver, Alan, honest.
my vision started coming in around the sides.
Yeah.
And I remember, the last thing I sort of remember is like, I'm going to black out.
Yeah, you said that. You did say that.
Tell me what happened next.
You were sitting down on the floor with your head on your hand. Your arm was resting on your knee and you were resting your head on your hand. And you said, I think I'm going to black out. And so I just sat next to you. And then you were out for maybe 5 seconds, something like that. No more than 10. And then you came round again and I said, you should drink some water, mate. And then you were like, oh my God, I think I just passed out.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't remember that bit on account of the no consciousness thing.
It was pretty intense. You did really well shortly after, though. It was a quick turnaround time because we took about 15 minutes out, didn't we? And just went and sat down and like studied your wounds.
Yeah, which were not substantial. I do think people won't be able to get a great sense of how painful something like this is because how could you possibly? But, I do have a decent pain threshold. I do jiu-jitsu and stuff. I get my limbs bent and like tried to be snapped and stuff on all sorts of occasions.
And you've been stung by a bullet ant.
Yeah, I know what pain's like.
And you don't think the food in India is spicy. So
exactly. But this was something else, man. This was felt like really horrible.
Yeah. Was it, I remember you saying that you couldn't feel your middle finger for a while.
I couldn't feel my hand for like half an hour, it felt like.
Yeah, shit. I mean, it's not good at all.
The difference between this and the bullet ant thing, though, is like after 30 minutes, I could tell that it wasn't going to be so bad long term.
Oh, okay, good.
It subsided enough that I was like, this is going to be all right.
Because I guess the worry is that you go into anaphylactic shock, right? And you don't know whether you're allergic or not.
I think I got stung by a wasp a couple of times as a kid, so I had a pretty good idea that it wasn't going to be too terrible.
Yeah. Were you in a position, this is honestly a thought that went through my head, mate, and I'm sorry to do this live on air.
Oh.
I didn't know whether you were in a condition to talk me through how to look after you if something was going to go wrong, because I don't know this sort of stuff, but you do.
Feed me some dates.
I was like thinking, shit, the only person that I know I know to ask Alan anything I don't know. Usually you know the answer. It could be any subject.
Oh, that's very sweet.
This would definitely be the one of those things, how to look after someone, how to support someone, and what to do if they do go into anaphylactic shock, or if you suspect they might be allergic.
Yeah.
But because you're blacked out already, I thought, shit, I don't even know how to deal with someone who's blacked out. Do I just pour water on there? I mean, the water was really expensive.
You don't ask me.
I wasn't going to use that.
I was like, Adam, we're not made of money.
But do you know what to do in that sort of situation? What should I have done? I was thinking, would I be able to feel his pulse?
No, I think.
Do I do mouth to mouth already, or
you know that I don't like being vulnerable?
Yes.
So I think you actually did the perfect thing by sort of You were like, come on, mate, let's get to the cafe, just take a seat.
Yeah.
And you kind of just let me recover in my own time. Checked if I was okay.
Yeah.
Checked if I needed anything. Cool, it'll be fine. I think that's exactly what I needed. Because famously, once I was sick in India, and I said to you, Adam, don't tell the group that I've just been sick, because I didn't want everyone to know. I hate when everyone's fussing and like being, so no, you were perfect, man. Good. It was what was needed.
Well, I supported you in hopefully the way you would expect a best friend to support you, but maybe not in the way that an English lad would have supported his friends if he was in as much pain.
Let me suck out the stings and we'll get on the walk.
I should have gone down there and sorted those bees out, shouldn't I? I should have sorted the group of wasps out and said, "Oi, you don't touch my mate like that."
I was met with something which, I hate to admit, but I did wish vendetta on the wasp community for a long while afterwards.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
I said something really weird to you on the walk. I remember saying it.
Yeah.
I said, do you know what I really want to do? Is I want to get one of those wasps and put a leash around it and make it walk for a mile in my shoes and live with me for a while and then see if it would still want to sting me after that, which is a really odd impulse to have, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you go through some sort of psychedelic experience as a result of the pain.
Yeah.
But bless your heart, to say something that you might say up north, we then, after chilling out for 15, 20 minutes in the shade, you still managed to go on the 3-hour hike that we'd set out to achieve before said sting session. So.
You can't let a couple of wasp stings prevent you from doing something that you want to do.
No. I mean, I asked you a few times, didn't I? I was like, oh, mate, just tell me what you want to do. How do you want to play it for the rest of the day? And you said, oh, I'd rather go back to bed. I was like, you can do that if you want. And you were like, no, we're doing the hike.
We are doing the hike.
I'm going back and I'm going to get stung by the wasp again, and then we're going to do the hike.
Yeah, well, my finger, it all comes full circle because, keen-eared listeners and fans of the show will know that I've destroyed my ring on Dundas Glacier, on Gilkin Glacier. Yeah. And thank God I did, because it was the finger that I usually wear the ring on.
Oh,
and
wow.
That finger swelled up to like many times the size. And I do think that ring would have been stuck.
It would have been really uncomfortable at the least. Probably.
I might have had to do that thing where you like get thread under the ring and wind it off, and it would have been a real faff. So thank God that the glacier claimed the ring so that the wasps could claim the finger.
As other people that we've been talking about very recently would say, everything happens for a reason right now.
Exactly.
But the hike otherwise was exceptional.
Yeah, very beautiful. Really nice to see the Omani Canyon. Other highlights of the trip for me, I enjoyed that fort in Niswa that we went to.
Yeah, that was good fun. That was a lot
cool.
of fun. Yeah. Getting a bit of shade in, weren't we? A bit of good aircon in.
Yeah, we always need to get some good aircon in when you're in Oman because it is so damn hot. We had an interesting experience as well, camping one night. And me and Adam, we search at the end of the day. Our last job of the day is to find somewhere, because wild camping is completely legal all over Oman, but you still want to find the perfect spot, flat ground, away from prying eyes, and no street light or anything like that.
No street lights. Preferably somewhere where in the morning you're already somewhere where you're going to have a lovely view.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to try and organise that.
So we found somewhere that we thought was the perfect spot, and we were comfortable there. It was getting really, really hot in the night, though.
And it was awful.
To the point where I got really, really uncomfortable. And the problem was, whenever you wound down the windows, a mosquito would enter the car.
Yeah.
And it would be, I'm really sick of mosquitoes, man. Yeah. So this is push and pull thing of like, you don't want to let the mosquitoes in, but you don't want it to get too hot.
It's catch-22, isn't it? You can't win either way.
At one point in the night, things got a little bit too much for me. So I opened the car door to try and cool down. And I was met, maybe 100 meters away, by the most insidious looking figure I've ever seen in my life. It was roughly the shape of a dog.
Yes.
But larger than you'd ever imagine a dog. Maybe two mastiffs on top of each other. I mean, was it a wolf?
You woke me up, and I looked out the window. I mean, my eyes were glazed over because I was still probably 3/4 asleep.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely certain it was a wolf.
Yeah.
Because I did think it was definitely too big to be a dog, but it was absolutely the shape of a dog. I'd convinced myself that it was the colour sort of browny grey. Yeah. And it was against the terrain you might find a wolf in, which was sort of a rocky, dry mountain.
It really is impossible to know what it was because it was so dark. It was like far enough away that it was obscure. It was sort of illuminated by a bit of a street light off in the distance. But I did take a picture of it, and that picture is up on the screen right now. So if you're on YouTube, you're seeing it. If you're on Spotify, you can click the video, you can see it as well. If you're listening with audio, I'm afraid you just simply can't participate, but thank you for listening anyway. If you think, like us, that looks very much like a very small, very sweet donkey, low resolution though it may be, then I want you to write in and tell us, tripologypodcast@gmail.com. I think it's a donkey. Or if you think it's a wolf, let us know that. You can go to tripologypodcast.com. There's a contact form on that website. Let us know. Is it donkey? Is it wolf?
We'd love to hear from you. Are we going to share what we think it was? Maybe not. Yeah?
Yeah, come down on either side of the fence. What do you think?
After seeing the photo,
yep,
I think it's almost certainly a donkey.
Okay.
But you said maybe it was just a donkey tied up. However, if it was a donkey tied up, it would have been there in the morning, which it wasn't.
That is crazy, yeah. And it was very, very still for a long period of time. I'm leaning towards perhaps a child's hobby horse, rocking horse, left out.
I was certain that it had the eyes facing forward, much like a wolf would.
Yeah.
And it stopped and stared at us for a while. It was making us feel very uncomfortable, wasn't it? Because we felt exposed. I mean, we had the windows, we actually had the doors open at that point.
Yeah.
And if it had come and attacked us, I don't know what we would have done. Are you going to get that dog in a leg lock? Or what are you going to do?
Yeah, leg lock is my preferred choice of attack.
Well, it's got 4 of them. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it's actually twice as more likely to be felled than the average human.
It's really effective on a wolf.
It was staring. There was a cockerel off in the distance. I know you're thinking, oh, it's nighttime, but Omani cockerels infamously have very bad body clocks. So it was staring off into the distance at the cockerel crowing in a way that made me think this thing wants to predate that cockerel.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm no animal expert, but I have worked on a farm or two.
Yeah.
And I don't think that cockerels are the natural prey of donkeys.
Yeah, well, exactly. Brigitte and Hawkeye, the donkeys on the farm, scarcely looked at any of the chickens, hens, or cockerels when they would make a noise.
So I think by that very fact, it almost certainly was an enormous alpha male wolf.
Certainly. Wolf, wasps, animal survivors, cockerels with bad body clocks, but some exceptional driving all round. Oman has been truly an amazing adventure. I'd like to talk to you on the next episode. I want to do a little bit of a trip roundup in general. I want to talk about coming of age whilst traveling. I want to talk about basically the fact that me and you, we've been going for a little while together, and that is sadly going to come to a close for the time being. Doesn't mean there's going to be any less tripology, though. In fact, it means there's going to be more tripology as we live our lives remotely just for the time being. We'll talk about that in our last in-person episode next week, or maybe we'll get a couple more in. We'll see.
I hope so. It's all very exciting.
But more to talk about, certainly. We've got tripologypodcast.com, where you can check out Rice for Breakfast, the food blog. You can check out Tales of a Trip, the travel blog. You can do a contact form if you've got a question for the show. Instagram's all there. We're happy to have you along for the ride. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
In my heart